Okay, I'm going to walk you through a couple of examples of deconstruction. In this first one, if I were to make a sentence that John F. Kennedy was not a homosexual, then if we try to deconstruct this, our reading and meaning of the text, JFK was not a homosexual. This one's really straightforward. What are some of the binaries? Heterosexuality, homosexuality. If we start to look at what is the privileged term, we would say that heterosexuality is privileged over homosexuality. Then we start examining the binary. So is there any conflict within it? Well, yes. No one has ever claimed that JFK was gay, so by making that statement, it creates a doubt. Why didn't the person just say JFK was straight, or JFK was a womanizer, or JFK was something else? Why frame it in the negative? That's to put doubt into the circle. So no one ever thinks JFK was gay. So if I say he was not gay, again, that puts a little bit of doubt and puts it into play. So we have heterosexuality of him versus homosexuality, and then we would come up with a conclusion that probably there's nothing to this. This is somewhat of the not best example, and if you were to ever do this in a class on literary criticism, you wouldn't get very far with grade-wise for that. But the idea is that especially if someone phrases something in the negative, if the episode is showing you that these people were not this way, is it just that they're truly showing you that they're not? Do we say that this species is non-violent? Is it that we are really saying that this is a peaceful society, or is it that there's some doubt that they really may be violent? So the negation, because generally if you think of negative positive, we don't do that. We do positive negative. We usually put the positive term out there, knowing that it's not the negative. But if you put the negative term first, we generally don't put a negative term out there reminding ourselves that it's not the positive. That's just not the way human brains generally work. So when someone does that, it's either expressing doubt or it was just kind of an awkward way of describing something. And so here, it would probably just have been better to have said JFK was straight. And there was probably not much more meaning into that. So here, we have an example that I'm going to walk you through, and then you're going to have the homework with the lecture question. So when you look at this image, what is it meaning? What is the meaning? What does it tell us? What is our goal at the end? Why do we have this picture, a publicity photo of Rory? Probably giving us something into his character. Probably telling us something about the episode. What binary exists? The assumption is you may have thought to yourself now, he's Roman, he's a centurion, and he has the sword that he's holding up and pointing at us. So generally, what do Roman centurions with swords do? They fight. So they're a warrior. What's the opposite of a warrior? Again, I'm leaving pauses for you to think to yourself briefly. But again, if a warrior is someone who goes out and kills, then the opposite is someone who heals. And so when we look through this, we see that our binary could be centurion nurse or nurse centurion. And again, the binary would play out differently in different cultures. In Rome, it's probably more important to have the warriors, the centurions, and so the nurse would be secondary, so it would be centurion nurse. Nowadays, depending on our political bent, if we feel like healing is more important than wounding, when you say nurse, centurion. But then you would examine, why is this in play? Well, there's two different aspects to this. One, turns out that Rory's both. From the time that he was written, he was a nurse. And now we have him as someone who has to go out and kill. So it gives us a deeper understanding if we start understanding, okay, why did we go from nurse? He's now a centurion. We see him doing different roles as far as warrior type behavior, but he was always this other side. So we see the duality within him. We see the binary actually within him, and so that gives us a deeper meaning into who his character is. That although he's someone who kills when he has to, generally speaking, he would prefer to help people. But again, if he has to, he will kill. So we can see some of the internal conflict within Rory based on the way, they could have started out making him a mechanic. So then that makes us think more about the episodes and the writing of this character. They could have made Rory a mechanic. They could have made him a stockbroker. They could have made him tons of things. Why did they choose nurse? When he came on the screen, we had no clue. He was just a character. He was a nurse. Fine. But now we're starting to see why that characterization of him is important, because we started feeling about Rory a specific way. We started thinking about him in a specific way, and now that's being upended. And that's an important aspect, and if we sit and think about it, it brings a deeper characterization to him. So again, walking you through things I've already told you about. So here's what your lecture is for this week. Your lecture question is, I want you to do a brief deconstruction on this image. It's the same thing I just did. Figure out what is the message of this to you, what is the binary, and does it bring you to a deeper meaning? And there's several different possibilities of this. So good luck, and I look forward to reading your questions.